and welcome to the PayFederate Webinar Series. I'm Boyd Davis, the CEO and co-founder of PayFederate, a compensation management software platform.
And I'm Sam Reeve of CompTeam. I'm the CEO and founder of CompTeam, a boutique compensation consulting organization. We've been doing this for a number of years, and I'm so glad to be able to be involved with PayFederate and see the advancements that are coming out.
Great, thanks, Sam. So this is part 3 of a 3-part series. Sam and I have had a chance to talk about how to inspire confidence in your compensation. We've had a chance to talk about how to do more with less. And today we're going to cover one of the more interesting topics targeted at the compensation community, which is how do you drive offers that hiring with offers that fit. And I'm going to set this up and then get Sam's feedback on this. But as I've talked to dozens and dozens of customers and prospects, and it's interesting to me that the range of participation of the compensation team in hiring ranges from a loose consulting effort, with maybe some feedback on specific situations, from that to almost no involvement at all. And yet, once offers are extended and accepted, those employees become part of a compensation structure. If all the new hires have been hired very high up in the range, it creates compression challenges with current employees. Oftentimes, the hiring may be driven by anecdotal data as opposed to real benchmark data. And so, in many cases, getting offers that fit an organization, you want to land a candidate, no question. The key requirement for organizations in recruiting is to get the best talent. However, if you bring that talent in and they don't have any development or growth area in their comp, or they create culture issues inside the organization, you may end up getting the right person for the wrong outcome. So what's your view, and how have you seen it change on how compensation is or can be or should be involved in the offer generation process? What do you see customers doing, and what do you recommend to them?
Well, I got to say, Boyd, I mean, the best companies out there are their recruiting teams or their talent acquisition and compensation are working much more closely than ever before. And the reasons are clear. The amount of regulation and pay transparency has increased the need for collaboration among these two groups of our talent acquisition and compensation. So one is kind of managing the job information that's out there, ensuring that those offers are up to date and it's alignment with the job that and the pieces of the job that need to be fulfilled and communicated to those candidates. We also need to make sure that there's the pay fairness at the time of hire, and then in quickening the whole process. We need to improve the candidate experience. That's been a problem for years. And going back and forth, if there's a change in the offer, and going back to compensation and getting their feedback, is it fair, is it reasonable, and then going back and forth. I mean, this just takes a lot of time, and it eats away at the candidate experience. It makes the organization it makes them not look good, because the candidate thinks, do they have it all together that is taking this much time, right? It needs to be faster. So I think that the collaboration between talent acquisition and compensation is just going to get more of a bond going forward. And I'm glad to see it. I think it's an important advancement.
It's interesting. One of the things that I see from time to time is a bit of tension between the hiring managers and maybe the compensation team on the nature of a given role, right? Within an organization, every employee has a different role. And when a hiring manager opens up a requisition or a job opening or a job position, they have some unique things that they want out of that person. And yet from an overall HR pay equity, pay fairness perspective, the vast majority of roles can be grouped into jobs that can be benchmarked and put within a leveling or a job architecture and built a salary range around them. But how do you see organizations managing that? Because if you create a new job for every role in the organization. It's going to be very hard to drive equity. And yet you need to have some way of saying, yes, there are unique responsibilities and deliverables for every job, but they can be then nested under, under something that can be benchmarked and kind of aggregated to make sure you're paying fairly. Do you see that as a challenge for organizations, and how do you see the best practices around that?
Well, it's definitely a challenge. I mean, everybody's the way that we're looking at jobs in the future is being broken down into pieces, right? You need a person that has this expertise in this particular system, or knows how to talk to people more effectively than others. And so there's these unique skill sets that need to be brought into play. But that's where it is important to have this good communication between compensation, HR, and the hiring managers, because that helps, that communication helps understand the differences and what is the organization going to pay for? Is there a difference in the marketplace for that additional skill? And so it helps us to have that clear communication, and also have tools to be able to use to effectively do that scenario planning, to ensure that if there is a difference, we can inform talent acquisition so that they can attract those critical talent, the critical people.
Well, I think one of the keys is to find a common ground on, hey, here are the jobs that exist within our job architecture that have these skills and experience and broad set of responsibilities, and to recognize that oftentimes nested under that is going to be the specific role. You're going to be working on this product, and you're going to have these specific deliverables. But yeah, they're part of this bigger job family. And I think in some organizations you have job descriptions and job postings all kind of generated a little bit more ad hoc, and then after the fact put into a job architecture. If you had a way for hiring managers and recruiters and an entire HR team to kind of work collaboratively around a common platform for taking a job description, deriving a job posting, and then recognizing how that fits into a job architecture at the start, you'd probably be a lot more efficient and get a lot better result.
That's absolutely true there, Boyd. I mean, the job architecture is the infrastructure that we can drive fairness across the organization. And we know that there may be differences in unique jobs and what a person does, but having that architecture creates that important infrastructure that we need as organizations.
Well, and I think, obviously, almost all organizations today are using some form of recruiting software, an applicant tracking system or a hiring system where they can basically broadcast their job openings and then manage the relationship with candidates as they come in, to schedule interviews and automate that process. Wonderful tools. As a matter of fact, I'd argue that AI has been used to more effect in recruiting than in almost any other area, certainly of HR software. And that's not going to go away. But as you now have salary ranges, either required and certainly encouraged by the job pool to have salary ranges in those job postings, it becomes more important than ever to have that compensation architecture linked to jobs. And I think most of the leading recruiting software maybe have a section to post a job range, but it's not necessarily dynamic. It's not connected to anything, or maybe they just have it in text in the job posting. And I think that's a challenge. Somehow we have to connect the recruiting process to, obviously these potential candidates or job seekers aren't in the HR system. They're not in the human capital management software or the HRIS system yet. They're not in payroll. So some way to connect the dots, I think, is going to be important.
I agree. I mean, there's that. I think that you're right in pointing out that AI has been used in a lot of these recruiting softwares in the past, but it hasn't been brought in with the other aspects of the talent cycle. And so I think that is a piece that needs to be developed going forward to increase the overall efficiency of HR and a better candidate experience and a manager hiring experience. So Let
me share with you, Sam, what we're doing at PayFederate, one of the very exciting elements of our platform that will probably drive some of the most significant opportunities to change the process for organizations. The first thing we want to do is to have a job catalog that everybody has access to, where you can look at the jobs. If you use a job code structure, whatever data you use over here, you can actually select how do you want to represent the job catalog. And actually, you can nest under each of these jobs that is a benchmarkable job that you have an internal range for. If there are unique roles or positions within that job, you can actually list those too. So if somebody needs to hire, maybe you have, say, a finance analyst, and we've hired 2 or 3 different finance analysts before, you could actually see various position descriptions that all fit under the job of, say, a finance staff role, so that you know how to benchmark. So this starts to have a common language where you get more reuse and more consistency. And you can actually go through here and take advantage of, if you're creating a new job, say you want to come in here and create a new finance analyst job, a couple of years experience in the US, and you want to say, hey, I really want to start to manage my expenses more carefully. You can actually use generative AI. These are the common generative AI tools that you might see. But we take it one step further and say, okay, this kind of job, we're going to guess that the best match for this job is a grade level 4 in our organization with this salary range. It might go up a grade or down a grade. And you can actually decide within this range, you can set a custom salary and set it there, or you can basically just use the best match. And then if you want, you can automatically generate a job posting out of this that follows the corporate template that talks about all the good reasons to work for the organization, and makes it very, very easy then to fit it into the job architecture. So this is one example of how we're supporting linking the HR policies and the critical requirements for an organization, and feeding, like we'll connect to whatever recruiting software an organization uses so that the data on the jobs flows into it. And then as you get the data from the candidates that hires out of that, you can actually start to think about that period between, hey, I found my candidate, I want to extend an offer, and I'm going to onboard them into my HCM platform. That gap is a critical one. And what we're offering is an opportunity to say, when you're ready to make an offer, let's make this a collaboration. And for example, when we've offered to a candidate, maybe the recruiter or somebody else, let me actually show something a little bit different, show the admin view here. And you can actually see now a space where you can say there's a recruiter, there's the hiring manager, maybe you have some oversight, all involved in a workflow. And you could show all the elements of an offer, the salary, the bonus, if there's a long-term incentive program, the kind of core value, the benefits you have, maybe a sign-on bonus, and actually show exactly where this candidate shows, not only relative to the internal ranges. This is something that is probably the first order. You can actually see this immediate team the person's joining and across the organization in this job. All of a sudden, you can really assess internal equity and all of the elements of the offer and have a workflow for approval. And this is key because you're not going to have this tension between the comp people saying, oh, no, you can't offer that much, and the recruiter and the hiring manager saying, no, we got to land this person. Everybody's on the same page with the data. And then finally, one of the things I think is a nice, you can also evaluate where your different candidates are at. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, the basics of a job offer letter probably haven't changed in over 100 years, or maybe more than that. And obviously today's generation is used to seeing things that are a lot more dynamic and engaging. So in addition to putting that whole offer management process in place where you can really fine tune the right offer, maybe if you have a candidate that wants a bit more money, but you don't want to have the base salary too high, you'll offer a bigger signing bonus. You can manage that. You can also show the candidate the real value of what they're getting. You can show a total reward statement. You can put the position in the range, because they're going to know the range. So why not explain to them why they'd be at where they're at in the range? You know, it's actually better to be lower in the range because you have more headroom. You could describe things like that. You, of course, have all of your corporate template for offers. You probably have a link to a legal agreement to accept the offer. But now they can go through and see details on their base salary. They can see information on any stock or LTI program that you have. You could describe your different bonus programs. You can describe the value of the benefits that are available, all in a much more interactive, engaging way. So this is something where I think we can take offer letters from, went from being written in Quill to being typed to being printed on a printer to maybe being shared in PDF, but the fundamental content and experience didn't change. We can bring them up to date. So these are things we think we can take a traditional platform. We've showed in previous sessions how we enable benchmarking and evaluation of employees and job matching and all that cool stuff that's really in the traditional domain of compensation. But now we're extending it and connecting it so that compensation can become more of a team sport, particularly in the area of hiring. So I'll stop here and stop the share and get a sense of, I saw you smiling throughout that demo, and I'm just intrigued by your thoughts on this direction we're taking.
Well, I think you've been doing this for a long time in looking at this system, but for our listeners and viewers that are looking in, I don't know if you understand what's happened here. I mean, in the past 5 to 10 minutes, you've identified a new job, you created a job description, you did an external market analysis, an internal market analysis, and communicated with recruiting and put that into an offer. That's something that would take hours, perhaps days in organizations. I mean, it's just amazing the advancement that we're looking at here.
Well, thank you for that. I think, my team and I have been working in the compensation domain for a long time. We're techies, but we're comp geeks. We're that unique combination that can really think about harnessing the power of technology to empower people. And we all hope for an outcome where everybody gets paid fairly, what they deserve, not more, right? We want organizations to keep their labor costs in line, but we want everybody to be paid fairly. And a lot of the challenge is outside of people's intent. Most comp professionals I know are deeply, profoundly committed to fair pay, regardless of gender or race or background. But we need better tools. We need better tools, and we hope to be, for certainly mid-sized organizations out there looking for a complete system, a comprehensive system to manage their benchmarking, management, communication of ranges, including in their hiring process. I hope they'll consider PayFederate.
Well, one more thing, Boyd, I just got to add this in here. I mean, the one thing is that what we showed here was as an amount of administration that has been made easy. And this allows our HR professionals and comp practitioners out there to up their game, to be more strategic, to look at those elements of pay fairness and strategy for the organization going forward. And tools like this will enable that.
Well, thank you. Again, I'd encourage everybody. This is part 3 of a 3-part series. The first 2, I think, were very informative, and you could watch all 3. And I'd like to make a special thanks to Sam. Sam has been a friend to our company for a long time. He is an outstanding compensation practitioner and consultant and teacher. And I encourage you all, if you're looking for some help beyond what you have the expertise to in your organization, look at compteam.net and check out Sam and keep in touch with both of us. Thanks, Sam.
Appreciate it, Boyd.